Hello students, today we will discuss a new chapter that is Lifelines of the National Economy. In this chapter we will discuss various things, that is means of transport, communication, trade, through which life has become very comfortable. Means of transport, likewise there are different means of transport: roadways, railways, pipelines, airways, water transport, through which life has become comfortable. People have not to go far places. They use at the time different means of transport, such as roads, trains, to reach different destinations. In this way, there are different aspects which we have to discuss in this chapter are: supply local, to demand local. Supply local refers to the different sources, whether it would be agricultural sector, it would be manufacturing industries, from which finished goods or valuable goods are supplied to the market. From market, consumers consume these different things which we obtain from agriculture, industrial sector. This supply local, it would be manufacturing industry, industries, or it would be agricultural sector or agricultural products, or anything through which we can satisfy our needs. Demand local, it refers to the market, where these goods will be supplied at certain places, which is known as market. There are some persons involved in this whole process, which are known as traders, who are making trade of these things which they obtain from the agricultural sector or from the industries where they obtain finished goods. Now, from industrial sector to the market, these things will be supplied with the help of transport. Side by side, there is the need of communication. As I already told you, there are some people involved in this process which are known as traders, who are making trade. Now these are the three things which we have to discuss in this chapter. First is transport, through which these manufacturing goods are supplied to the market, where different people from the different places obtain such things in order to fulfill their needs. Communication, it is that service through which people can only communicate to get different things. In ancient times, there was no concept of communication or trade. Now, through communication, our life has become comfortable, because different things which are in the different markets of the world, they are available in our market, in our local market. When they are available in our local market, we have no need to go different countries to get such things. This gave the concept of globalization. What is globalization? Globalization is the concept which is related to the trade. Now the whole world has become a single village. It has become a single market. What does it mean? Those things which are manufacturing in different markets of the world, such things are available in our market with the help of transport, with the help of communication, with the help of trade. Now, these are three things which we have to discuss in this chapter, through which our life has become comfortable. That is why we refer them it as lifelines of the national economy. We have to discuss the first aspect in this chapter, that is means of transport. You understood what is the importance of such things. We have the need of such things such as transport, through which we reach our destinations in very less time. It is the communication or it is trade. Now, means of transport. Means of transport. We have to discuss these three aspects. First is transport, second is communication, and third is trade. Means of communication. This means of communication is possible on three domains. Number one domain is land, another is water, and third one is air. It is land transport, water transport, and air transport. On land, there are three types of transport. One is road transport or roadways. Number two, railways. And number last is pipelines. In water transport, it is again further divided into two subtypes. Number one is inland water transport. Second is overseas. That is ocean transport. Simply, it is ocean transport. It is that water transport which is used within the land. That is in rivers. Air transport is again divided into two subtypes. Domestic airways, and second is international air transport. Now, these are three domains on which different means of transport has possible. Now, there are three domains, as I already told you. In land domain or land part, in which different means of transport is possible. It is in the form of roadways or road transport, railway transport, or it is pipelines. Now we have to discuss these one by one. This is the outline classification we will discuss. Now, according to this outline classification of means of transport, we will discuss first one, that is roadways. In roadways, we will discuss the advantages of roads, types of roads, and road density. India has the largest road network in the world. It is about 2.3 million kilometers. Roadways have the advantage over railways. Railways as well is most important means of transport, Roadways construction is less as that of railways. The construction of railways is much more larger than the roadways. That is why it is the advantage goes to the roadways. Roadways has much more important aspects which we will discuss here. First of all, I have told you that there is the length of 2.3 million kilometers. Construction cost is less as that of railways. It has its advantage because railway construction is not possible on the hilly or mountainous regions, but roadways can be constructed on these hilly or mountainous regions. As we are observing in the Himalayan regions where Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, these are the Himalayan states are mountainous areas through which roads have been carved. But railways construction cannot be possible there. Railway tracks needs the plain land, but roadways can be constructed there. It is the positive point or it is the advantage which goes to the these roadways. Roadways acts as a feeder transport. When we have to plan to go to the different regions of the world or in different parts of India, we start journey from our home, we go from the vehicles, and our destination is the railway station or it would be the airport. Now, we feed different things which we have. We have the different things which we have to need to send them to our friends, our relatives. Likewise, our letters are different things which we have to send in different areas of the world. This roadway acts as, at the time, feeder transport. It feeds the another transport. Through road transport, we feed another transport, likewise railways or air transport. It gives door-to-door service. Railway tracks cannot be constructed through each and every household, but roadways are possible to the each and every household. That's why I have told you that it gives the door-to-door service. It acts as a feeder transport. It is possible in the hilly or mountainous areas. These are the points which you have to remember. This road transport is feasible for the shorter distances. They carry less number of goods and passengers from one place to another place as that of railways. These were the important points which you have to remember in roadways. Here is the another subtopic related to railways, that is types of roads or classification of roads. Types of roads. Here you remember roads have been classified on the basis of two bases. One base is capacity, another base is material. Another base is material. First base, capacity. How much roads are broad, how much roads are narrow. That is the capacity. What is the capacity of that road through which a large number of vehicles can drive or run? On the basis of material, what is the material used for the road construction? There are two types of roads which we discuss later on. Material. There is bituminous coal which is used for the construction of roads, that gives strength to the roads or durability. Now, such roads becomes metallic. Cement is used, coal is used, and there are some roads which are found in village areas. During rainy season, it is not possible to move because there is mud and there is water which is stored in the depressions. It is very difficult to move from one place to another place in rural areas particularly because they have the seasonal roads. This is the material classification on the basis of material. First of all, we will discuss on the basis of capacity. On the basis of capacity, roads are classified into various types. Number one, golden, quadrilateral, super highways. This is the first one on the basis of capacity. Number two, national highways. Number three, state highways. Number four, district roads. Number five, other roads. And last one, that is six, border roads. This is the classification on the basis of capacity, as I already told you. Number one, golden quadrilateral superhighways. It is a mathematical structure which is quadrilateral, which is formed like this. This is Delhi, New Delhi. This is Mumbai, Chennai. In east side it is Kolkata, and it is again joined with Delhi. These are the four metropolitan cities through which roads have been constructed. These are the six lane roads in order to reduce the distance. In other ways, from Delhi, any person can reach to Mumbai in other roads, through other roads as well. But in order to reduce the distance, or the distance has been reduced by these golden quadrilateral superhighways. They are known as quadrilateral because it acts as a mathematical diagram that is quadrilateral, through which two roads also connect, are also connected here like this, from north-south corridor and west to east corridor. From north-south corridor, it is Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari. It is Gujarat, Porbandar to Assam, Silchar. These are the two corridors which run through this quadrilateral. Because through these corridors, any person can reach through these different extreme parts of India. If any person has to go Porbandar, that is in Gujarat, he will start journey from Delhi. He will reach in Mumbai. From Mumbai, he has to cover less distance to reach Gujarat. This is another option. When any person will start journey from Delhi, he will reach at the central part of India, but it will take long time. They have been constructed in order to reduce the distance, or in order to minimize the time. Now, this was the first road on the basis of capacity, that is golden quadrilateral superhighways. On the basis of capacity, these roads are managed by NAN, NHAI, NHAI, National Highway Authority of India. This is an organization which maintain these roads. These are 6-lane roads. There are 6 lanes. Number 2, national highways. These are such highways which connects the state capitals of India. Each state has its own capital. These are managed by CPWD. CPWD stands for Central Public Works Department. These are such roads which connects the state capitals of India. State highways. These are such roads which are managed by PWD. It is Public Works Department. Here is the involvement of central part of India. It is simply Public Works Department. It is the these are managed by the state, or this is the organization which is known as PWD. These are such roads which connect the state capital with other districts. You know, each state has its own capital, and around there are different districts. Likewise, this is at the central part of any state, or it is the capital which is connected to the different districts of the state. Now, these are the district headquarters. These are district headquarters. Now, this is state capital, and these are district headquarters. Such roads are known as state highways. District roads. District roads are managed by one section of village panchayat, that is known as Zilla Parishad. Zilla Parishad. It is one section of village panchayat. District roads. These are such roads which can connect us district headquarters to the other areas, that is rural areas. We take an example here of each district in Jammu and Kashmir is connected with the different village areas or other areas. Here is another part of road, that is other roads. There was one scheme which is known as PM Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. This was the scheme through which each village was connected with another village. Now, in modern times, these metallic roads are now seen in different parts of the villages in India. Now, village roads are also metallic roads, but there are some far-flung areas or hilly areas where due to rain, due to snowfall, the durability of such construction of road doesn't remain constant. In this way, the maintenance is very important in rural areas particularly. This was the scheme which is known as Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. This is an organization which are maintaining these village roads. Last road, that is border roads. Border roads are those roads which are constructed to the border areas. Each and every country has its own LOC through which the roads are constructed. This is for the security, particularly the security of a country, through which these vehicles are driving along the borders of different parts of the country. This was the classification, or this is managed by BRO, Border Road Organization. This was the organization. Each and every type of road has its own organizations which are maintaining the roads. Now, another part of this classification is on the basis of material. As I already told you, there are two types of roads on the basis of material. One is metallic road, another is unmetallic roads. Unmetallic roads are also known as seasonal roads. During rainy season in village areas, people cannot move from one place to another place because there are deep depressions along the roads where this rainfall is stored, and it is very difficult to move from one place to another place. But in urban areas, it has been seen that there are mostly metallic roads. This was the classification on the basis of capacity, on the basis of material. In roads, there is last one that is known as road density. Road density. What is road density? Road density is known as length of roads which is taken per 100 square kilometers. Have you got it? Road density. It is the length of roads which is taken per 100 square kilometers. The lowest road density is found in Jammu and Kashmir, that is 12.14 kilometers, and it is highest road density is in Kerala, 517.14 kilometers. This data was taken in 2011. The average road density in India is that is 142.68 kilometers. Lowest road density is in Jammu and Kashmir. Lowest and highest road density is in Kerala. At the average road density of India, as I already told you, it is 142.68 kilometers. That was all about roads. Now we will move towards another part. Now the second type of this land transport is railway transport. Railway transport. Railway transport has its own advantage, as we have seen in roadways. Railway transport mostly used for longer distances. They carry large number of goods from one place to another place. Railways has much more importance because it is used for sightseeings, pilgrimage, where people have to go different destinations where they have these pilgrimages, or there are some business purposes through which people have to go longer distances. At the time, they will prefer to go this railway transport. It is not that much expensive as that of air transport. It is less expensive than air transport. People in India mostly prefer to go this railway transport because they have now to change different these means of transport in different places. They have to take only one train in order to cover the distance up to the destinations. In railway transport, as I already told you, there are some advantages as well. So far as examination point of view, there are three reasons which you have to give. So far as construction of railways are concerned. Number one, physical. Number two, economic reason for the construction of railways. And number last is administrative reasons. These are the three reasons which we have to give so far as construction of railways are concerned. Sometimes it is asked in, or it has been seen in previous examinations that there are three reasons which you have to give: physical reason, economic or administrative reason. Now listen. Construction of railways throughout India is not same, because it has different physiography, it has different physical divisions. Mostly northern part of India is covered by highest mountains, Himalayas. West side there is Indian desert. South side there is Deccan Plateau or Peninsular Plateau, coastal plains. There are northern plains at mostly in the northern part of India. Now, India has different physiographic divisions. It is not possible to construct railways in each and every physiographic division. The railway tracks needs the plain land, or it should have flat land where construction is possible. There should not be likewise marshy and swampy land, desert lands and other lands. Now, it needs the flat land. That is why most of the dense railway network is seen in northern plains, because there are various reasons as well, which I have written here. So far as physiographic or physical reason is concerned, the feasible land for the construction of railways is northern plains. I will show you on the map of India. These are Himalayas. These are Himalayan mountains. Here is desert. These are mountains, where construction of railways is not that much possible. This is desert area. Desert area. This is Peninsular Plateau. Peninsular Plateau. You know, there are Western Ghats, here are Eastern Ghats. These are hills where construction of railways towards the western coastal plains is not possible. But some railway tracks have been seen, but there are some natural passes here. Likewise, there are some natural passes through which railway tracks have been possible, which has connected this Konkan coast, Malabar coast and other coasts towards the western coastal plains. Now, mostly in general, southern part of India, railway tracks are not that much, in which we have seen in northern plains of India. These are the railway tracks, mostly dense railway tracks are found. Now you have understood the first reason, that is physiographic reason, because each and every physical feature is not feasible for the construction of railways. Number one. Number two, economic reason. Economic reason is that northern plains mostly are available for the agricultural purposes. Agriculture. There are some agricultural products which needs the transport. Mostly it is railway transport through which different products are transported to the industries for the refining, for the purification. Now, it is the agriculture which is related to the economy of India. agricultural products, they are they are transported up to the industrial sector. This is only the railway where a large number of goods or agricultural products are transported up to the industries. Now, last one, that is administrative reason for the construction of railways. What does it mean? You know, the capital of India, that is Delhi, situated here. Most of the railway tracks are seen, or dense railway tracks are seen around Delhi. Why? Because there are some essential works around Delhi, for it would be administrative work or any other work which is possible around Delhi. This is the administrative reason, because there are different purposes to go at Delhi. In the, now, people have to reach there. They prefer railway transport, because any person which is residing in South India, he has to move to the North India, mostly in Delhi. He will prefer to move through the railway transport. These were the three reasons which we have discussed. I hope that you have understood physical, economic and administrative reason which is in railway tracks, railway construction. Konkan, as I already told you, that is the western coastal plains. There was some kind of marshy and swampy lands where somewhat construction of railways has been now possible. In northern part of India, that is in Jammu and Kashmir, there are some railway tracks which have been constructed by carving the mountains or making tunnels through which railway have been possible. But it is very difficult to construct railway tracks through these mountains. This was importance of railway transport. We have discussed the reasons why the construction of railways is possible on the northern plains, not in other areas of India. In desert areas, mostly that area is covered with sand. That area is not also the stable, where rocks are very deep found. There is above sand, thick layer of sand, where the railway tracks cannot, the durability or will not sustain for the long time. There are problems which are faced by the railway tracks. Problems of railways. Very simple to remember. First problem in railways is there are some passengers which board the train without ticket. Pull chain unnecessarily. There is theft. There is damage of railway properties. These are some problems which you have to remember. Passengers which board these trains without tickets, pull chain unnecessarily. How it will affect the this railways? The train which has to reach another destination on time, when any person will pull the chain unnecessarily, there would be some problem to reach over the destination, because there would be the time problem. Passengers have to suffer. the train would be late. It has to reach on time, but it would be late because of these such problems which such persons found in railways are creating. Inland transport, last one is pipelines. Pipelines. Third one, it is a small topic, very simple. Pipelines. Pipelines. Pipelines, you have to remember in ancient times, nowadays as well, was used for transporting of water. These pipelines in modern times are used for the transporting of fossil fuels, particularly petroleum, natural gas, or some semi-solid materials which are transported to the oil refineries. Such as in Assam, there is one place, Digboi, that is in Mumbai High, and other places where this petroleum is extracted and natural gas is extracted. But this petroleum should be refined or it should be purified. It is purified in petroleum refineries. This pipeline transport has now possible that large quantity of petroleum is this transported from extraction areas to the industrial areas where it will be refined. This was the pipelines through which there is some advantage features which we have seen, that there is no delay, there is no transport jams. These pipelines has mostly constructed in areas, through the forest areas, through the land areas, along the roads, along the railway tracks. These railway, the construction of pipelines is high, but the fair cost is very low. This is one-time investment. We have to construct at one time, but there are some advantages which we will get in future. These are pipes which are laid in different areas, in different industrial areas. This is the extraction area. These are the pipelines through which this petroleum is passed to the destinations where they will be refined here. This is one-time investment. The investment is very high. The construction cost is very high, but the transport cost of petroleum is low. Transport cost of petroleum or any other product is very low. There is no delay. And there is no any kind of traffic jam or any other delay. This is most important, that in modern times, without time consuming, such products are facilitated from one place to another place without any disturbance. In India, there are different networks of pipelines. As you know, Assam, as I already told you, there is one place, Digboi. From that area to Kanpur, that is in Uttar Pradesh. From Uttar Pradesh, there are different branches, Baruni to Haldia and Guwahati to Siliguri. From Salaya, Gujarat to Jalandhar, these are the pipelines which have been laid in India. Punjab branches which connect to Koila and Chakshu, Hazaria in Jagdishpur. These are some gas pipelines which have been laid in different parts of India. That was all about land transport which we have discussed here. First was road transport, another was railway transport, and last one was pipelines. Now we will move towards another means of transport, that is water transport. Water transport. Water transport was used from the ancient times, as you know. It is cheapest means of transport. water transport is that means of transport which takes long period of time to reach different parts of the places of the world, mostly from one country to another country. It is not the case of one part of the country to the another part of, it is the case of one country to another country. When there is the concept of export and import, at the time it is water transport which is preferred. They cover longer distances from one continent to another continent, one country to another country. When India has to export any product or different kinds of products to the European countries, the ships will sail from the Arabian Sea. That is why there is one canal which have been constructed during the 1947, before 1947, because the purpose to reduce the distance from India between the Europe. That was known as Suez Canal. The Suez Canal was mainly for the purpose to export and import between India and European countries. At the time, it has been preferred that different things which have been exported or imported to the different parts of the world, it would be water transport which is at the time used. Water transport is classified into two subtypes. So far as outline classification is concerned, as I already told you here, one is inland waterways, another is overseas. Overseas are also referred as ocean transport, ocean waterways. It is cheapest means of transport. Cheapest means of transport, cover longer distances. These longer distances would be from country to country, or one continent to another continent. Carry large number of goods and passengers from place to place. It is environmental friendly means of transport. Now, there are two types of water transport. One is inland waterways. What is inland waterways? These are the ships, or these are the small boats which are used to carry different things or passengers from one place to another place within the country. There are different examples, as there is river Ganga, there is river Brahmaputra, West Coast Canal of that is in Kerala, and there are other Godavari and Krishna rivers through which these boats sail from one place to another place for the different purposes. Number one, in waterways, we refer it as NW. In roads, we have discussed NH, that is national highways. In waterways, we refer in symbols NW, that is national waterways number one, that is river Ganga. National waterways number two, that is river Brahmaputra. Number three, NW, National Waterways number 3, West Coast Canal of Kerala. West Coast Canal, Kerala. Number 4, National Waterways number 4, that is Godavari and Krishna rivers. Godavari and Krishna rivers, which are used as water transport. River Ganga, that is 1620 kilometers distance through which these boats sail within the river Ganga. Areas from which they move, that is Allahabad to Haldia. Allahabad, that is in Uttar Pradesh, up to the West Bengal. National Waterways number 2, that is Brahmaputra, they sail from Sadia to the Dubri, that is 891 kilometers. West Coast Canal of Kerala. And third one is Krishna and Godavari rivers, which are used as water transport. Yes, there is another classification, that is overseas. In overseas, that is ocean transport, through which different seaports are used to carry goods from one place to another place, or from India to the different countries. One topic will be covered, that is the map work through this another classification, or any second topic, that is the overseas or ocean transport. Second, that is overseas, or it is ocean waterways or ocean transport. Overseas, you have to remember various seaports in India. Actually, there are 6 seaports towards the western coastal areas, and 6 seaports towards eastern coastal areas. Number 1, that is here, this is first seaport. It is referred as Kandla. Second, it is Mumbai seaport. This is another one, Marmagua. This is New Mangalore. In Kerala, it is Kochi. Kandla, Mumbai, Marmagua, New Mangalore, and Kochi. And here it is Tuticorin in Tamil Nadu. Tuticorin. This is Chennai seaport. Chennai seaport. It is Vishakhapatnam. These are three. It is Paradeep, and there are two here in West Bengal. One is Haldia, another is Kolkata. Haldia, here is Haldia, and last one it is Kolkata. Thiruvananthapuram. That is in Kerala. In Kerala, you have to remember two. One is Kochi, another is in Thiruvananthapuram. These are 6 seaports towards the west coast of India. There are 6 seaports in east coast of India. It is examination point of view. Maybe there would be any seaport which you have to label or mark on the map work in examination, such as Mumbai or Kandla. You have to only here make a symbol here, and you are supposed to write the name Kandla here or Mumbai here. You will get 1 mark from making this one symbol here and writing this name. Likewise, these are 6 seaports here. Kandla and Mumbai. Mumbai is also referred as the gateway of India. Anything which will be taken or import from the different parts of the world, it will first come to the Mumbai and it will be exported to the different parts of the country. Anything which will be exported to the different parts of the world, first it will come to the Mumbai and then it will be exported to the different parts of the world. But there are some seaports also used for to export different kinds of things. But it has been, there are some construction of some these seaports here, because here are some countries towards the eastern side of India, neighboring countries, where it would be easy to export from the eastern side. But it would be very difficult to move from Mumbai west to east below the Indian Ocean and then Bay of Bengal to move the eastern. Now, it is very easy to move from Paradeep, Vishakhapatnam, Haldia or Kolkata to the eastern countries which are situated to the eastern side. These are the seaports which you have to remember here. And here is Haldia. It is known as subsidiary seaport, because when it is, there would be great pressure in Kolkata seaport. At the time, the pressure is lowered by the Haldia. Likewise, Kandla is subsidiary seaport. When there would be more pressure in Mumbai, and the pressure is minimized or reduced by the Kandla, at the time the export and import is handled by the Kandla. That was all about water transport. We will discuss now air transport. Air transport is more expensive means of transport, because it is not the reach of common people, because they cannot afford to go through this transport. It is expensive, comfortable, prestigious, means of transport. It has been observed that air transport has its own advantages, as we have seen in different means of transport. Air transport is used during any calamity or any hazard or any disaster, during earthquakes, during floods, during tsunamis. At the time, railways, roadways, and other means of transport are all influenced. This air transport is work as rescues. Medicine, food, and other necessary items are supplied by this transport, air transport. Air transport cover any distance, whether these would be the land masses over countries or continents, oceans, seas, rivers. Any other difficulty cannot harm this air transport, whether these would be the highest Himalayas, Mount Everest, or dense forests, or any other barrier cannot harm this air transport. It can cover any distance to reach its destination. Fastest, comfortable है, comfortable. Air transport is fastest, comfortable, prestigious. As I already told you, it cover difficult terrains, mountains, whether they would be mountains, deserts, dense forests, or any other difficulty can cover such means of transport. Air transport is not used by the poor people because they cannot afford. There is one state, you remember, northeastern part of India, where they are known as Seven Sisters. There are seven states, mostly Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland, other these Tripura, Mizoram. Mostly it is preferred, that is Arunachal Pradesh, hilly state where railway construction was not possible. Roadways are not that much, in which such people have given these airfare at the subsidiary rates. Such people are using, it is not only that state, it is Sikkim, it is Arunachal Pradesh, it is Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir. Such states are given the airfare at very low rates as that of other states of India. Because other states of India has not that much difficulty as such states are facing. Because they are residing within the Himalayan ranges. That is why they are giving such facilities. Air transport is mostly important means of transport. India has got the nationalization so far as air transport is concerned in 1953. It is also used for at the time for the food items which have no time, such as these are known as perishable goods or perishable food items. These perishable food items has no time because they can be spoiled, or they cannot be used later on. They should be reached in market very less time. Air transport at the time is used. As I already told you, in air transport it is classified into two subtypes. One is domestic airways, another is international airways. Mostly these air transport is handled by the private sector. In India, we have seen that there are different airlines, that is Vistara, Indigo is there. There is Air India is one which is handled by the public sector, which is international airline, through which people can transport to the different parts of the world. These are the two types in air transport. One is domestic, which is mostly handled by the public sector, and another is public sector, which is totally handled by the government, that is Air India. As I already told you that in Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, and in Arunachal Pradesh, they are giving such airfare in subsidiary rates. Mostly there is the service which is given Pawan Hans helicopter, and Dakotas are users sometimes to used at the time when roads are blocked due to the snowfall, particularly in the national highway in Jammu area. Pir Panjal area mostly in winter season is blocked by the snowfall or landslides. In Ladakh and Kashmir is also cut off most of the year. That is why at the time these Dakotas and air services given to these people at subsidiary rates. Now the another topic is communication. Communication. Now, what is communication? Communication refers to the sending and receiving information or messages. Sending and receiving information or messages. From sending side there is a sender, and from receiving side there is a receiver. Sender send this information in the form of a written document which a receiver can receive, and it would be oral which receiver again will receive. This communication is classified into two main types. One is mass communication. Another is personal communication. These are the two types of communication. Personal communication, it is that communication in which two persons are involved. One is known as sender, another is known as receiver. One is sending message and another is receiving. Whether it would be a written letter that a sender is sending, and when another person receives, at the time he will receive that message only one person. One is sending and another is receiving. That is personal communication. Mass communication. Mass communication is that communication in which one person is sending information or message, large number of people are receiving this information or message, or at the time, in sometimes whole world can receive that message. At the time it will become the mass communication. Mass communication refers to the large number of people. It would again be as a written document, or it would be oral. Sometimes the telephones which are used conference calls. There is one speaker and there is one who is sending the message, and there are the large number of people in a hall which are receiving the message. At the time it will become mass communication. Otherwise the telephone calls, one is sending, another is receiving, that is personal communication. These are the two types of communications. Personal communication involves the two persons only, whether one is sending and another is receiving. In this way, there are other aspects related to this communication. When any person has to send any message or any other document to the other places, that will be sent to the different means of transports. One is known as first class mail, Another is known as second class mail. Second class mail. First class mail is that message or that information which will be sent by the air transport. Air transport. This is first class mail which reaches to the destination in very less time. Second class mail, it is that mail or it is that information which is sent by the land transport or water transport. It can reach to the destination. It will take some more days than first class mail. If we have urgent need to send any kind of information to the other places, to the relatives, to the friends, we prefer to the first class mail. First class mail includes the cards, envelopes, which is sent by the air. Second class mail includes the packets, newspapers, journals, which is sent by the land or water. There are 6 channels through which these informations or these documents are sent, which are known as Rajdhani channel, Metro, Green, another is business, bulk and periodical channels. These are different channels through which these informations are sent. Telecommunication in India. India is one of the largest in Asia. Each and every village is connected to the 24 hours by this telephonic services. There is uniform rates by these services. Mass communication, as I already told you, some more points we will add here. That is, it is used for the entertainment, create awareness. That is in the form of books, magazines. All India Radio is there. All India Radio broadcasts. Various programs are there which are regional or local in languages. Doordarshan is one of the largest terrestrial network. Variety of programs are there, such as educational programs. There are the sports and any other entertainment programs. Newspapers which are printed in India are in 100 languages. Most of them are in Hindi, which is followed by English and Urdu. What is trade? Trade is exchange of goods between different places of the world. Different places of the world. In ancient times, there was exchange of goods from which we return again goods. That was the barter system, which was replaced by this foreign exchange. We will export goods in reverse. We will get foreign exchange, different currencies from the different countries. Trade is the concept through which different goods are facilitated to the different parts of the world. As I already told you, there are the persons which are involved in this process are known as traders. There are various types of trade: international trade, local trade, straight trade. There is favorable trade, unfavorable trade, balanced trade. There are different trades which you have to remember. Number 1, international trade. It is that type of trade which is done between the countries, between countries. Another trade, local trade. Local trade. It is that trade which is done within the villages or between the villages, between the towns or between the states. third trade, that is state trade, state level trade. State level trade. It is that trade which is done between the states. International is between the countries. State trade is between the states. What is favorable trade and unfavorable trade? Number 4, favorable trade. Favorable, and number 5 is unfavorable. Unfavorable, and last one is balanced trade. Balanced trade. Listen, favorable trade is that trade when there would be more export or export exceeds import. There would be more export than import. In unfavorable trade, there would be more import or import exceeds export. There would be more import than export. Balanced trade is that trade in which there would be same or equal export and import. These are different types of trades which you have to remember. But each and every country should have favorable trade. There should be more export than import. When there would be more import, because a country has to consume much more capital on that. If we will export more products to the different country, it means that we will get much more foreign exchange. That is why each and every country should have more export than import. Here are some examples of export and import. How much we are exporting to the different parts of the world and how much we are importing to India. One example here it is, that is petroleum products, that is 16.8% in 2010 and 2011 has been exported to the other parts of the world. And same petroleum products which has been imported to India, that is 28.6%. We are exporting only 16.8 and we are importing 28.6%. What is this? Is this favorable or unfavorable? This is unfavorable because we are exporting 16% and we are importing 28%. Every country, that is why every country should have favorable trade. There should be more export than import. At last, which is related to the trade, that is tourism as a trade. Tourism as a trade. Tourism is considered as one of the trade because it plays an important role for the economy of a country. There are foreign tourists which come to different tourist places in India. In order to the foreign the capital which is day by day, or GDP which is day by day or year after year increasing. There is 64,889 crores. This is the data which has been taken in 2009. 64,889 crores have been earned in 2010. In 2009-2010, this data was taken. This was the foreign exchange which has been earned by those tourists which come to India. It is not only that we are gaining the huge amount of capital. There are other aspects which are related to this. That is particularly in our Jammu and Kashmir, the culture, the handicraft, and some tourists which come to here for different purposes. Likewise, some come to here for the business purpose, some for the to observe the adventurous there are the adventurous reasons, some are the medical reasons. There are various reasons to come any other places, such as heritage. People go to other places to see the old monuments, or ecotourism to see the ecosystem, adventurous, cultural tourism, medical tourism. Mostly it is the business tourism. Most of the people to go to the different parts of the countries of the world for the purpose to make business. Business is one of the most aspect which is related to the tourism, trade or tourism. In India, there are various places which are tourist places. Likewise, Jammu and Kashmir is here, Goa is there, Rajasthan. This was the chapter which we have to discuss today, lifelines of the national economy. I hope that you have understood all of what I have discussed here. Thank you very much. God bless you.